Let's go from fear to fabulous because certainly now that we've kind of got this anxiety piece anchored in investment, now I'm terrified, right? Like the fear has hit. And so how do we go from fear to fabulous?
Fear to fabulous. I love it. So fabulousness. I think fabulousness is owning it, right? So I when I think of being fabulous, it's owning it. And owning it and working with it. So now you're at this a place that you've respected the power of anxiety, right? And now you're working with it. So you're thinking to yourself, okay, this is fueling what I want to do, which is maybe practice more, or it's fueling what I want to do. In my case, I keep doing public speaking because I can practice it. I can go from fear to fabulous. I think some of the work that I do that I appreciate the most is those things where I've overcome my fear to be there and to speak about things. So I think the fabulousness is owning it and then going with it and seeing where it takes you. And if you really think about the most confident people, it's the ones who are really willing to, whatever comes their way, they'll accept it, respect it, right? Like we talked about them. And that's really what makes them fabulous.
Mm.
It's the ownership of that fear. And then you work with it. And so that confidence is really what I think is what makes you fabulous.
Yes, well, and I love really going from fear to fabulous. It's the fuel and that fuel that ignites it and really pushes. And team, I just hope you're getting as much out of this. Anita is sharing so many winning strategies with us and just, that openness of our hearts to really go for what matters to us and go for that dream rather than having what we call performance barriers, anxiety and fear and all these things. Notice they're just part of the journey and they're really fueling us. Number one, to figure out what matters to us. If it doesn't really get you nervous or anxious, or, you're not going from fear to fabulous, maybe you better check in and see, does this really matter? Is this really what I want to invest in? Is this the mission that I want to be on? Am I settling so that I just don't feel uncomfortable? And so, Anita, let's step into that. Let's step into confidence, really connecting to the courage of, yikes, I want something big and I'm going to go for it. And now, how do I go from just connecting and wanting it to having the confidence to going for it?
Oh yeah. I don't like to go back to the same thing, but I think it's so important, which is you are every step of the way it's going to look different.
Yeah.
And so
That's
first
that change component, team,
that's
getting
that
to
change
change.
component. Change is it's the most beautiful and it can be the most scary thing,
Yeah.
and so but yeah, you're starting it off, right? You owned your fear. And now you're realizing where it's coming from. But you're completely right. If you are not feeling anxiety or a sense of, think of anxiety as a cue. It can be a cue to danger, it can be a cue to an excitement, it can be a cue to a, a lot of things, but it's a cue. And so then it falls upon you to kind of see what is a cue of. Is it a cue of, wow, this is so meaningful to me? Or is it a cue of, this is dangerous to me? But I think the anxiety that we really face is the fear of failure, um, the fear of what's to come next. And so when you think of those anxieties, it really is a cue to, this is important to you. And if you're not feeling anxiety, you're right. You should be questioning, is this me just being in my space of in that comfort zone? And look, you can live your whole life in a comfort zone. You could. But what would that life look like? You
Would
know?
that be the life that you want?
Would that be the life that you want? And even knowing that requires you to go out of your comfort zone, because I love that quote. You don't even know what you don't know.
Yeah.
And so you go out there, you try it, you come back, you retreat to your comfort zone, but you keep going. And that's the showing up part. So it's kind of full circle, right? You come back to exactly where we started. And that's really, once again, just showing up. And so, yeah, I just think that it's a circular process. And every day is a new day for
It's
that.
almost like every day you get to go on that circle, right? Because,
Exactly.
if you're super invested in your day, from the minute you wake up, you have to choose that you're going to show up. And then the minute you start showing up, you're going to get challenged. Hopefully, if you're going for a great life, you're going to get challenged and the anxiety is going to hit and you're going to receive it, accept it, and challenge it and really invest in yourself and just keep connecting.